Hi, this is John Jordan with Go Local Interactive, and today we're going to be talking about SEO. This is the fourth video in our series on how to build a strong digital marketing program from the foundation up. SEO is typically something that's the most commonly misunderstood aspect of digital marketing. And the main reason for that is that those that perform SEO functions, whether they be an agency or an individual that works for your company, typically don't like giving away, quote, their secret sauce, if you will. Um, I would like to help to demystify a little bit of the effort that goes into SEO by helping you better understand exactly what is SEO, how is it intended to help your site, what is the actual function SEO is intended to perform in your marketing mix, and hopefully bring a little bit more clarity to exactly what that SEO relationship you're seeking should look like. So it starts with just understanding what is the purpose of SEO. SEO is intended, it stands for search engine optimization, but it's intended to essentially help the search engine better understand and interpret and read your website. Understand all the content that's being offered to users and how that content describes the various services or products you offer and or the geography where you offer those services. And so we say that it ensures the crawlability and readability of your site. This will make a little bit more sense as we get into some of kind of the tactical elements and describing those to you of SEO. But if you keep that in mind when you start thinking about SEO and its main function, then it should help you to understand how it interrelates to all the other pieces of a true organic strategy. So speaking of organic strategy, I want to take a step backwards and just remind you of an analogy I gave you in the first video in this series when we were talking about building our house and all the different components of building a strong digital marketing house, if you will. I mentioned that you should think of a stool with three legs on it sitting in the middle of your house. That stool is your organic strategy. And for organic to perform properly, you need three primary functions. And in the analogy, three legs on the stool. If you don't have one of those legs on the stool, it's not going to perform as it's intended, and it's certainly not going to be optimal in terms of organic presence. The first leg on that stool was the one we talked about in our last video, which is local listings. Local listings establish what we call local relevance with the search engines. And that is the first step in ensuring that you can have a successful organic strategy, is establishing with the search engine that you have an actual physical presence in the markets that you serve and the actual geography that you're intending to serve with your products and services. Once that piece is in place, the next step in the equation is what we're talking about today, SEO. SEO is intended, as we just mentioned, to increase the crawlability and readability of your website for that search engine so that it can better interpret how relevant you are for all the searches that are happening in the local marketplaces that you're serving. The third leg on this stool, if you will, is content. Content will establish topical relevance, and that will be the next topic in this series that we'll speak about next time. But all three of these components, the local listings, the SEO, and the content, are necessary for a successful digital marketing organic strategy. So SEO, it can be complicated. This slide is not intended to make you dizzy. It's just intended to show you a few. There are over 200 plus ranking factors. We could not fit them all onto this page, but this just gives you an idea of how many things are out there in the SEO world that can be leveraged to help Google better understand and interpret your website and ultimately help you to gain the organic positioning or presence you're looking for on those search engine results pages. So you can see all of these things are kind of interconnected. When we were talking about our stool with SEO and listings and content, there's a lot of aspects that can be managed through an SEO program, all these known ranking factors, if you will, that can be managed. Some of these have been confirmed, I would say, by Google in search forums. They've come outright and basically told us, hey, these are part of our ranking algorithm. Every website should consider these things. Some examples of that would be ADA compliance. Google has made it a known ranking factor for some time now that they are looking at ADA compliance as a standard to ensure that all users of all types, whether they have visual issues in reading through a website, they're blind or impaired in some way, whether they have hearing impairments, etc. They want those individuals to be able to perform the same functions on your website that everyone else can. So they are scanning websites for ADA compliant standards, and those are factored into who gets ranked well. Another one that's a known ranking factor is page speed. This has been a hot topic for some time in the industry, but how quickly your page loads, Google has data to support what that means from a conversion perspective. I think we all know we live in a very impatient society today, and youngsters that are growing up from teenagers and up through their 20s are no different. And so as that impatience kind of translates into search behavior, Google has recognized that if a page or a website loads very slowly for users, those users tend to abandon that website and go shop somewhere else. So they have made it one of their ranking factors, and it's a part of their algorithm to evaluate each individual website on how fast the pages on that website actually load for users. And they've actually gone a step further by giving us tools. In this case, the Page Speed Insights is what the tool is called, that they provided to us. And they've had several iterations of it over the last few years to help us see ourselves through Google's eyes from a page speed perspective. They actually give you a score that evaluates each page on your website for page speed, and it's through the lens of Google. So you can see how they're evaluating relative to your competitors and how quickly their websites load. So those are just two examples of, again, hundreds of known ranking factors or known parts of Google's search engine algorithm. And some have been confirmed, some have just been discovered over the years by SEO firms, but there's a consensus that there are over 200 plus ranking factors that come into account. And those are the things we're trying to address through your typical SEO strategy. Now, this is kind of messy and hard to interpret, so I'm going to take it down a notch for you and give you a little bit easier to interpret visual and as it relates to how you approach SEO. So as you could kind of estimate, with over 200 known factors, there has to be some type of rank, rhyme, or reason to how you approach SEO. So with our firm, we actually go through a series of audits that are intended to identify as many of these ranking factors as possible that are off, meaning that are not consistent with what we would say is best practice. And we prioritize those items into critical elements that need to be addressed right away because they're having a great impact on your ability to be crawlable and readable by that search engine and digestible. All the way down to kind of the nice to haves, if you will, the things that we can put off maybe for 6 months down the road when we've got through all those critical elements that need to be addressed more quickly. So I'm going to describe just a few more of these elements as we go through this presentation, just so that you can kind of start to grasp. There's no way we'd be able to go through all 200 plus of them. Happy to do that over the course of time. And our teams do that every day in explaining what they're working on and why it's important to the search engine. That's what part of what we do on a daily basis. But in this, for purposes of time and this particular presentation, I'm just going to go through a few more. Things like title tags, backlinks, user experience, accessibility, etc. So in order to conduct SEO properly, you need quite a few tools at your disposal. This is by no means a comprehensive list of all of the tools that SEO firms use, nor is it a comprehensive list of the tools that Go Local even uses, but it does give you an idea of just how many tools are out there that can be leveraged to help evaluate your website from different perspectives. It starts with all of your basic Google accounts. So your Google Analytics, your Tag Manager, your Google Search Console accounts, those offer a wealth of information for SEO, individuals working on SEO to interpret and understand. First and foremost, to gather data and really interpret how are we doing, why is that potentially happening. Those are all things that can be derived from really having good data flow through these accounts that I just mentioned. There are other tools that can look from an outsider's perspective, like a Screaming Frog is a tool that we use to kind of scan a website and identify a lot of those known SEO ranking factors that are out of place or not particularly done well. That could be as simple as a missing title tag or a meta description that is over its character limit, so it's being kind of truncated when it displays on the search engine. There's a large number of things that we can evaluate through tools like Screaming Frog that can quickly scan and interpret and understand where we might be deficient and kind of point us in the right direction so we can kind of address those SEO things very quickly. There's other tools like Hotjar that allow us to evaluate user experience and behavior. So we can actually record users as they're navigating through your website and see where they might be getting hung up from a user experience perspective. We can use heat mapping tools like through what Hotjar offers to better understand where users are navigating on the site with their mouse movements, where they're clicking, where they're engaging and interacting with content we've added to those pages. I've seen quite a few studies where users are trying to click on something that's not clickable. That's a clear indication that they're seeking more information about whatever it is they're trying to click on. And often a result of that is that we go and we add content, either scroll over text. When they scroll over that item, it'll pop up a little blurb of text, or we'll make it a clickable link where they can actually go to a page that offers more information about whatever that is that they were trying to click. So there's a lot of really great insights that can come from leveraging tools like this. One more that I'll call out here is a tool called Stat. That's a tool that we use for keyword ranking. It allows us to take a daily snapshot of where we are in the rankings, because believe it or not, our rankings actually fluctuate on an hourly basis. And so if we take a single point in time snapshot of how we're ranking, that's not necessarily representative of where we're ranking on average throughout the course of a full month. So we use tools like Stat to evaluate on a daily basis how rankings are performing for our most critical keywords we're targeting, so that over the course of a month, we can report back on an average position for each keyword. And you'd be surprised how much they kind of fluctuate throughout the month, depending upon what we're doing or what your competitors are doing, or just what Google is doing in the back end with their algorithm and how they're trying to tweak things around to ensure they're showing users the most relevant content possible. So again, won't be able to go through all the tools that we use, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the tools that are used for SEO and how we actually use those tools. So one of the things I wanted to help you to understand is what we see when we're looking at a website versus what a search engine sees. So from our perspective, when we look at a website as individuals, we're looking at the aesthetics of the website. How does it appeal to us visually or audibly if there's video and other content like that. So in this example, we're using the Go Local website. This is what you would see when you look at the Go Local homepage. However, this is what Google sees. This is actually the source code behind the homepage of Go Local's website, which is something that anyone can pull up. But this is just to give you a better representation of how Google views a website. So this is where all the technical elements come into play, and you can start to see things like here is a label of a title, Go Local Interactive, a full service digital marketing agency. That's our title tag that's added to that page. So as you scroll through all of the source code, just as Google would be scanning this source code, you can better interpret and understand the content on the page and what the intended purpose of that page is for users that are visiting it. So again, this is what we see. This is what the search engines see. And this is why SEO is important, because a lot of the work that's done for SEO is actually here behind the scenes and not necessarily seen visually in all instances. So here's an example of some SEO tactics at work. In this instance, I conducted a search on Google for climate-controlled storage in Austin, Texas. And the first organic ranking that came up was public storage. Looks like a page in Austin. I wanted to call out that their title tag, which is pulling directly from their website, kind of this headline you see here, directly correlates with what I'm searching for. So I searched for climate control storage in Austin, Texas. Their title tag is written as local climate controlled self-storage units near Austin, Texas. So they they are more or less affirming with that title what the purpose of that page is for users. And in this case, this page's purpose is to help people that are searching for climate-controlled storage units in Austin. And so they've written the title to reaffirm that for Google, that that's what this page is intended to do, and therefore Google is giving them first position on organic. If you go to the actual, you click through this link, and this is the page you land on Public Storage's site, one of the first things I want you to notice is that title tag appears up here in the tab for the page, the browser tab for the page that you're on that website. That's where you can quickly identify, is there a title tag that's written for a page on your own website. The second thing I want to draw your attention to is the URL structure. In this case, they have reaffirmed for the search engine through the URL structure that this page is about Austin, it's about storage, and it's about climate control. And so you can see after publicstorage.com, there's a backslash, then it says self-storage, Texas, Austin, then it has another backslash, climate controlled storage units. So again, they are affirming for the search engine in multiple ways through the title tag and now through the URL structure what this page is all about. I've also highlighted for you here Austin, so they're clarifying right at the top of the page for the search engine what geography is relevant. And then there's a couple of other call outs here where you can see there's a breadcrumb that's been added. That's basically a way for users to jump back to previous pages. So you can see it starts with the home page, it goes to locations, then United States, then Texas, then Austin, then climate controlled storage units. So there's a lot of steps the user would have to go through if they were navigating from the home page to get to this particular page in Austin on climate control. But they're telling the search engine they're relevant in all of these cases. So someone looking for a storage facility in Texas would be more likely to land on this Texas page. Those that are searching for storage in Austin would be more likely to land on this Austin page. And those that are specifically searching for climate controlled storage in Austin, Texas would be more likely to land on this page that we're on right now. We've also have a header tag placed here of climate controlled self-storage units in Austin, Texas. Again, reaffirming for the search engine what this page is all about. A header tag is, if I used an analogy of a newspaper article, your title tag would be more like the headline to that newspaper article. And your header tags, there can be H1s, H2s, H3s, etc. Header tags are intended to break up the content on a page and tell the search engine or the user what is this next section of content about. So think of that in your newspaper analogy as kind of a subsection of an article, and you have a little headline that defines for the reader what that little section of the article is about. So it serves the same purpose for the search engine. The search engine can scan and see, oh, this section of this page is about climate controlled self-storage units in Austin, Texas. And then you can see Public Storage has this is what we would consider a market page, because they have multiple locations in Austin that offer climate control. So they're already filtering that to show on this particular URL for the user who's searching specifically for climate control in Austin. Here's another example from that same search. Just going down a little further, Sparefoot, I noticed, had some question and answers showing up in the search engine results. So I wanted to kind of show you that, thought that was a good example of an SEO tactic at work. So in this instance, they're gaining a little bit more real estate than you can see Yelp and Cube have a little bit more limited real estate. And that's because Google has deemed that there are FAQs on their climate control page that would be potentially helpful to users who are searching for climate control in Austin. And so it's not as simple as just placing FAQs on this page. They actually have wrapped that FAQ section in what we call structured markup or schema markup. In this case, it's a specific type of schema called FAQ schema. And I've shown you here like a little snippet I took out of the source code from their website to show you that it specifically is FAQ schema that's been added to the site that allows the search engine to know that this content is FAQ format, and then they can therefore pull it directly into the search result that you're seeing here. Without this markup, the search engine may not interpret this as FAQs, and it may not be able to pull into the search result. So again, if we think about SEO's purpose of trying to help search engines to better interpret and understand our website and what we're offering to consumers, this is a perfect example of that, because we're taking a piece of content, in this case FAQ content, we're wrapping it in a schema markup that Google understands and interprets, and that it's FAQ content, and that therefore allows the search engine to easily pull that content directly into the search results page, rewarding Sparefoot by giving them a little bit more real estate and likely knocking a competitor off of that first page so that fewer competitors are there, or at minimum pushing those competitors down the page so that they're less likely to be seen or less likely to get the click. I also wanted to show that there was a little bit of a different approach taken by Sparefoot here to their header tag, their title tags, and their headers in the page. So you can see in this instance the label that's appearing on the page and their title, and then you can see the URL structure set up similarly to what we saw with Public. They have sparefoot.com/Austin-Texas-self-storage. That's a page on their website, and then / to go to the next iteration of that page, climate controlled storage, so that they would basically filter all of those facilities in Austin, Texas, that offer climate control on this page. And then when you actually land on the page, there's a header tag there. In this case, they've actually structured it as their title tag, as you can see over here, Austin, Texas, self-storage, climate controlled units, Sparefoot. That's the same message we're seeing here, Austin, Texas, self-storage, climate controlled units. So there's different ways to set up a page for success, and that's just slight differences between what Public was doing, what Sparefoot's doing. But Sparefoot in this case was getting rewarded because they had taken the extra step of adding in this FAQ content that Google thought might be useful to people that are searching for climate control. So again, I hope that helps. SEO can be really complex, complicated. It's not so hard that average layman can't understand it, but it takes some time and effort to have it explained so that you can truly understand of these 200 plus tactics, only a handful of which I've talked about today, what they're intended to do for the search engine and how they're intended to help the search engine better interpret and understand your website, and ultimately lead to better rankings, more real estate being owned on that SERP page, etc. So again, I hope this helps. Please, as always, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else here at Go Local. We're happy to always help. The next one in this series is going to be on content, and that'll complete our 3 on organic. I hope you'll tune in. And until then, I hope you have a great day.